Hey guys, today I'm going to show you a very exciting tutorial where a user is able to select from a range of different recipients across different collections, where there's a member type collection, different from a distribution list collection, an individual member collection. And then when a user has selected it, for example here, we want to send an email to superheroes and Taylor Swift. When they press send, we're actually able to retrieve information from the superhero distribution list and the respective superhero email addresses, and from the specific member collection, which is separate, and get Taylor Swift's individual email. Let's get started. Let's quickly walk through the backend database structure. So here we have a list of members. So here you can see there's Eminem, Batman, Spider-Man, Ed Sheeran, Kelly Clarkson, Taylor Swift, each with their own respective emails. And then there is also a member type where there are basically 3 member types: bronze, silver, and gold. And each of these members belong to a specific member type. So for example, Real Slim Shady, I believe, belongs to the gold tier, and Batman belongs to the bronze tier. And then lastly, there is a distribution list. Here, the distribution list is set up differently, where there is a name of the distribution list and a list of members within this distribution list. So for example, if I want to send an email to all superheroes, I can extract it from this list of members. So here it will contain Batman and Spider-Man, and the musicians will contain all the musicians' names in the members list here. In order to get started, the first we need to do is configure this dropdown. Because the data are sitting across different collections, so for example, we need to pull in specific members as a dropdown, in addition to members type, and in addition to different distribution lists. This dropdown here needs to query across all collections and then combine them into one single dropdown, but at the same time maintaining the value about where this dropdown is actually getting information from. In order to do this, we need to write a set of custom code, in particular a custom action. From a design perspective, how I've created this is very simple. There is a dropdown allowing the user to select the recipient and an email message field to enter the content of the email, and then a test send button. We won't actually send the email, but I'll show you by pressing this how our email gets populated here. It will show the selected recipient being populated based on this dropdown, just to show that it is working. In order to get started, we need to firstly create a new data type that feeds into the dropdown. This is because we can't simply show the value. We actually also need to contain store the labels different to the values. So the new data type will consist of 2 fields. One is value, which is basically the hidden unique reference to what is being selected. So here it's going to be actually a string, not a particular reference, because we want it to be flexible enough. So we wanted to store it as a string firstly. And then this is secondly, the second field is going to be called label. This is what is being shown to the front user. So the name of the recipient or the distribution list. It's also going to be a string. In addition, in the app state, I have also created the initial email dropdown, which will feed into when we run the custom action. And this is going to be of data structure, data type of the dropdown recipient structure. And here is going to be a list. The reason why I'm doing this is because we will use this app state to populate the dropdown recipient here. Let's write a set of custom code that pulls the list of recipients to select from the dropdown here. So the first thing we need to do is create a custom code. I've already done it here, but in order to create it, you need to press add custom action. The return value we're going for is the data type of dropdown recipient, which we created previously. This is because the dropdown recipient needs field of option and a field of value to feed into the dropdown. So how I've written the custom code here is I'm going to quickly create a list, an empty list of dropdown recipient. And the first thing I want to add is actually ability to query all members. So if someone selects, I want to send an email to all members, they can easily select the all members option. The next part I want to do is actually query the member types collection. Here, I'm doing a Firebase query of collection member types. I'm getting it. The second line of code here is the mapping component. Here, we're transforming each document in the collection, transforming it into the member type record. So when this is executed, member types should be a list containing instances of member type records, which correspond to each individual document. Next, for each of this member types document, I am going to start adding into the dropdown recipient the name with a prefix of member type and the exact reference path of it, and then cast it to a string. So in the end, what gets added into dropdown will look like this. It will look like member types / the unique ID here, instead of just simply the unique ID. This is important because later on, it allows us to query the exact member type when we do fetch the respective emails belonging to each member type. So for the distribution list, this gets slightly different because the distribution list is, if you recall, instead of member types being related to a member directly, distribution list is actually a list of members. But here we're only interested in these two anyway. So similarly, what I've done is I've used the same code. I've created a querying the collection of distribution lists and then looping through each of these values, superhero and musician, and the respective unique ID here, but as a reference path to cast into the string and adding it. And then lastly, I want to give the user the ability to select specific members. So here I've just simply queried all the members here, all the members in a backend, and then looping through each of this member, adding the last name and the first name, and then the exact reference path, and then cast it to a string. So we can save this and I'll show you what it looks like in Flutterflow. So what we need to do here is actually run the custom action that pulls all this backend information when we first load up this page. So we need to create an action. So I'm going to write custom action, get dropdown recipient, and the output, let's just call it dropdown recipient output. And what we need to do here is then set the app state. Remember how we created the app state? The initial dropdown email, set a value as to what we just outputted from this custom action. No further changes, all good. Next, for this dropdown recipient, we actually need to select, by default, it doesn't show, it only shows options, which is not right. You actually got to split it. So it gives an option, it gives a possibility to define the values, which is the unique document reference. And then the label here is actually what gets shown to the user. So here, define option value. I want to set it as the app state, initial dropdown email, map list item, data structure field. I want to set it as value. Confirm, confirm. I'll quickly copy this. And for labels, I'll just paste it, but change this to label. Confirm, confirm. Let's quickly test this to see if this is the case. Let's go to the send email and select the recipient dropdown. And here we can see all the options possible. We have all members, member type, distribution list, and the specific members. Great. Let's quickly make this a bit better from a selection perspective, because when a user selects bronze member, he can't select silver and so on. What I'd like to do here is actually create a table that shows what has been selected and added with a X button to remove that specific recipient from the list. I don't recommend using this allow multi-select drop-down functionality, because when I tried it, there was a lot of problem because of the way this multi-select drop-down has been configured by Flutterflow. So the first thing I'm going to do here is quickly, let's do something real basic. Add a column. I'm going to drag it up to be under the select recipient. And here, this is simply going to be, what I want to do is have a page state of selected recipients. So here I'm going to select selected recipients. It's going to be a list of selected recipient data type, drop down recipient data type. Now for this column, what I want to do is, let's quickly wrap it in a row. So this column, I'm going to generate dynamic children, and it's going to be from the app state, selected recipient, selected recipients list, confirm. And then for the row, I'm going to add a text field, and then I'm also going to add a kind of a icon, a cross icon. I'll just write icon here, and let's call it a bin icon, rubbish, delete. Let's do this. Let's quickly spread this out. For the hello world text field, I'm going to go select a recipient item, has a data structure field, and I'm going to select label. So this is what gets shown to the user. And then the X icon. The X icon, what I want to do is on tap, I want to update the page state. So here I want to go select update page state, select a recipient, and I'm going to remove that recipient from the list. So remove from list, value to remove, select a list item, done. So what we need to do here is when a user selects a particular drop down option, it gets added to this selected recipient list. So here I want to quickly create an action where I go update app state, update page state, set here, and what I want to do is add to list. So you can't simply add the drop downs value. What you actually need to do is do a workaround where we need to query the app state, which has all the lists of drop down options. We need to filter list items, where the filter condition is firstly the item in list data structure field. The value is equal to the drop down value. To explain it further, we actually need to look into app state, which contains all the possible options, and then compare that unique string reference to find out which from the app state has a user selected. It will give you a list of options, but because it's unique values, we can simply select item at index first. No further changes, and we're good to go. Let's test this to see if it works. Now that's loaded. So here we can select recipient. Let's select the member type of bronze. Here, member type bronze gets automatically added with a bin button. And let's select, I also want to send an email to Spider-Man in addition to Eminem. Let's just say I want to remove Eminem. So just press X. I also want to remove Spider-Man, and then just adjust the field again. Instead of sending to bronze and Eminem and so on, I want to send to member type bronze and Kelly Clarkson. I'm going to stop here. Remember to subscribe for part 2, where we actually get the recipient's email.